I feel like you, Rosalee, Violet is a kindred spirit.
Hmm. It's
I
like the highest compliment I've ever gotten right there.
remember the first time I ever lived in a place where violets were covering the yard and the joy of lying down and a lawn of violets is just one of the most joyful things. Violet is one of the most softening plants that we have, and I think it's like the beauty of what violet has to offer.
Welcome to the Herbs with Rosalee podcast, a show exploring how herbs heal as medicine, as food, and through connecting with the living world around you. Well, most people know violet as a pretty spring flower, something to smile at in the lawn and maybe toss in a salad. But in this episode, herbalist Lindsey Feldpausch makes a compelling case that violet is a gentle yet powerful herb with a reach that extends well beyond the skin into the lymphatic system, the respiratory tract, and even the nervous system. By the end, you may find yourself looking at that so-called backyard weed very differently and wondering why you haven't been working with it all along. If you enjoy this episode, please give it a thumbs up so more plant lovers can find us. And be sure to stay tuned until the very end for your herbal tidbit. Lindsey, it's my absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
I'm so happy to be here with you, Rosalee. This is going to be so much fun.
It is. It is going to be so much fun. All right, I feel like that was a very we did the practice run of me welcoming to you to the show, and then I just feel like, and also we're friends, so
I know.
also we're friends. Hello, welcome. So great to have you, Lindsey. I am really excited to hear your story. You've chosen one of my most favorite herbs. So, yeah, lots to look forward to. But as always, I love to just get started with hearing how the plants have called you onto this path.
Thanks, Rosalie. Yeah, I truly, truly love hearing everyone's plant stories. It is such an incredible window into the experience of people and how they entered this world. So I, feel in the genre of plant stories, there's people who grew up with parents who cultivated this, relationship with plants, or they had their own natural connection with them. And that was definitely, I was on the other side. So my experience was that I grew up in suburbia and I did not really have any connection with plants. I mean, I remember climbing one specific tree in our neighborhood that we all climbed, and I remember the cultivated bushes where I lived and kind of hiding behind those, but it was never with an eye towards their relationship to us as humans, or their, questioning what their names were or what their purpose was. I mean, I knew, the relationship between trees and oxygen and carbon dioxide, but yeah, I think that it wasn't even something that felt the door was never open for me in those early ages until I went to college in Detroit, Michigan, and that's where I'm from. So I moved into this house that had a bunch of young artistic punks living together in this space, and it was in downtown Detroit, or city center. We're living in an old Victorian mansion, and we are starting to build a garden in the backyard. And I had never gardened before. I had never grown a plant in my life. And so I'm just helping to plant kale and lettuce and tomatoes for the first time ever, and just being like, whoa, this is super cool. I'm really enjoying this practice and getting to know the plants and what they have to offer as food. And it was my first relationship with any type of plant. And then I was like, if these plants are so amazing, what about all the other plants in the world? So I living in that house, we had some plants that had been also established. So there was a mugwort, and there was a wormwood, and we had, I remember, some sage and some rue, and There's this memory where I remember somebody that was like really into plants coming over and being like, "Oh yeah, well this is wormwood and this is mugwort and this is rue." And I was just like, "How do you know that? Like, how can you tell the difference between like these plants? They're all, green and yeah." So anyways, I remember being so fascinated by the fact that like they could identify plants.
Hmm.
I remember my friend sitting down on the grass with me and being like, "Oh, this is plantain. It's good for everything." And yeah, so from there I remember making my first tinctures. Like I still have the mugwort bottle that I made a tincture of, and I remember like flipping through my first herb book, which was um David Hoffman's Holistic Herbal, and like writing out what it was good for on the label. And I think it says like for dreams or something like that. And it like have like how many drops to take. And yeah, I got my first, so like Holistic Herbal, and my other first plant book was Botany in a Day. And anyways, those books just kind of like opened me up to the world of herbalism and did some self-studying from there until I decided that I wanted to go to herb school. And so yeah, told a friend sitting in the backyard of this same house that I wanted to study herbalism. And that friend happened to be like best friends with Thomas Easley. And she was like, we're in Michigan and Thomas is in Alabama.
Hmm.
She's like, "Oh, we got to meet my friend Thomas. He'll totally let you like come move to his farm and study with him." And so she introduced me, and that's exactly what we did. My husband and I, who was my partner, my boyfriend then, moved to Alabama. We like loaded up our pickup truck and our dogs, and we moved to Alabama. And I did a clinical training intensive program with Tom, or I did a clinical apprenticeship with Thomas for almost a year, and that kind of started off my journey. I went back home to Michigan after that, and I studied with Jim McDonald, who is obviously one of my greatest teachers and our dear friend. We I can never say enough great things about the education I received from Jim. And yeah, so that is like in a nutshell, kind of where I started.
Well, yeah, so many questions popped into my mind. First of all, that grouping of plants that you had at your house, the mugwort, wormwood, rue, sage, all these lovely aromatics and like such potent plants too. Like
Yeah.
those are like some strong plants to call you in. So yeah, I love that. And
Mm.
yeah, there's something, hearing all these different plant stories from people, I often hear about um it's like something sparks it and like it's like your whole being is just like yes, like I need to know this, and kind of like that, like you're someone comes over and it's like, oh, I know these plants, and something in you is just like lit up, like I need to
Yes.
know this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think that the fire of curiosity, that feeling of like insatiable desire to learn about something, like it's really a like telling feeling, right? Like this is
Hmm.
obviously something that you are meant to explore when it just makes you so curious. Like I
Yeah,
wanted to know everything. And
I
um
mean, so much so that you just packed up your truck and headed to Alabama.
I
I
know.
love Thomas, but I don't even think that I would travel to Alabama for Thomas. I would just be like heat, humidity, snakes. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the only time I packed up and moved. So Thomas, in 2015, 2014, Thomas called me and he said, I kept working at his school from the time that I studied with him in Alabama. And in 2014, he called me and he said, "Hey, we're thinking about like leasing this 500 acres in the middle of North Carolina. Um, we want to start a clinical training program for herbalists." And he said, "Will you and Brian, my husband, join us? Will you move to North Carolina, sight unseen, and start this herb program?" And in 2015, we did. We spent 5 years living in the mountains in North Carolina, being yeah, running a clinical training intensive program where people would come live with us for a year. And it was the coolest thing ever. We would study Monday through Thursday, like full days. Thomas and I were the lead teachers until we had some more folks join us later on. But yeah, they would study Monday through Thursday full time, and then Fridays were clinic. And we had medicine making. We had our own apothecary. It was really intensive. So yeah, that's how I'm still in the South because of that. So yeah.
Well, it was lovely to hear your story. I knew like bits and pieces, but I don't know that I've had that like quite that entire like linear progression. You
Mm.
didn't mention when we met, which seems like a blaring like omission. It's fine. It's fine. Nothing.
2017 International Herb Symposium is when Rosalee and I fell in love.
Yeah. And we did too. When I met you, I was like, we are kindred spirits.
I
Yeah,
know,
from the get-go.
the
Yeah, so
Diana Barry to the Anne of Green Gables.
yeah, absolutely. And it is true too. We are like such twinsies on so many things, but we will,
Mm.
we will not list those for all of you, dear listeners.
It could be fun.
Yeah, we both love to read, for example. And yeah, I just wanted to talk more about like you have been so like you obviously dived in so deep. You were like, yes, this is it. Took the plunge a couple of times. And you have done so much herbal curriculum development. I mean, that's something that you have just spent a tremendous amount of time in, as well as, clinical practice. Um, I'm just kind of curious, like, what is it about the herbal curriculum development that you love? Because obviously you're
Mm.
exceptional at it and you've spent a great deal of time doing it.
I love that question, Rosalie. I don't know if I've ever really like picked that apart. So I will say that right now, my position is I'm assistant director at the Herbal Academy. And so I do spend, my full-time job is developing curriculum for herbalism. And before that, at the Eclectic School of Herbalism, I was program director in cultivating herbal education for these incredible programs, right? So I think that I am an educator. And, I'm a clinical herbalist and I'm an educator. And these are two identifiers that I like hold very close to my heart because these are, you know, how I choose to like live my life and present myself in the world. And educator is a natural part of, I think, who I am. I remember when I was younger, like my grandma being like, "You should be a teacher. You should be a teacher." And I was like, I don't want to be a teacher." Like, no offense to teachers. I'm so grateful for the teachers out there that they like, I'm talking like K through 12 teachers who do what they do. Like, it's incredible. Like, it's so much work. It's really like the backbone of our society, and they're underpaid and underserved. And anyways, we won't go down that ramp, but like that was not what I felt called to do, right? Like I needed something that was more intriguing to me. And so when I started teaching in herbalism, it was like, oh, this is actually like, yes, like, yeah, it was such a big yes, because I love teaching. I love helping people. I have a very like maternal spirit where I'm just like wanting to support people. And like, I am also, I think, patience is a key virtue that one must hold as an educator in a lot of ways to be like in the trenches with people learning. And like I taught medicine making at the eclectic school, and I remember like teaching people percolation math and just being like, no, like we can do this, like I promise, we're gonna get through this. And yeah, like the feeling of like being able to support people as they learn on that path. And so there's the teacher side of like the educational program creation, but then there's also the like knowledge research based, right? Like
Mhm.
what do you want people to know? What is important? Like where is the information coming from, and how are we going to like clearly communicate it in this like format and in the development of courses? So I think that it's an art, really. I would imagine you probably feel that way too, Rosalie.
Yeah, yeah. It was partly a selfish question because I was, just wondering, as someone else who also loves herbal curriculum development, of just like, what is it?
Yeah.
Something I was thinking about is like, I feel like I'm most easily in my like flow state when I'm either prepping the curriculum, like doing the research and like writing a course or teaching the course.
Yeah.
Like those are my most easy flow states to get into. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the creative ideation stage of like, what could this course be and what is
Mm,
it going to give to the students, right?
yeah.
And I feel like truly so lucky to be at the Herbal Academy, able to like be working with this incredible team to like develop curriculum on this larger scale. And so coming to like this place where it's like, I have an idea, and here is how I cultivate this, or here's how I see this being cultivated, right? And like getting excited, like I get excited about identifying new plants in the wild, like getting excited about identifying like the pieces of a like puzzle that can be put together to like create a whole in a program is so beautiful, and yeah, and it feels like the end result is like this piece of art.
That's beautiful. Hey there. Just a quick note. If you'd like to hear from me in a more personal way, I'd love to have you in my free text community. I send a couple of texts every week, things like behind the scenes updates, herbal thoughts that I'm chewing on, and little sparks of joy I don't always share anywhere else. To join, just text the word root to 1-509-383-8398. And if you ever want to break up, no hard feelings. Just text STOP to the same number and you'll be opted out immediately. My goal is to make it so juicy and so fun that you look forward to getting my texts each week. Okay, now back to the show. Well, thank you for all of that. And we're going to dive more into some of the curriculum that you're currently developing later, I know. But for now, let's switch over to discuss one of my very favorite plants. So right now, Lindsey, for anyone who's listening, Lindsey's holding up some gorgeous little violets, and they're still in flower. I checked mine; it didn't have any in flower, but I've been eating the leaves every day, which is lovely.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, I was very happy to be able to bring with us today some of the last Viola sororia flowers
Mm.
on my land.
Well, my first question for you, Lindsey, is I always like to ask, like, you could choose any plant. Why did
Yeah,
you choose violet?
I feel like you, Rosalee, Violet is a kindred spirit.
Hmm. It's like the highest compliment I've ever gotten, right there.
It is a plant that I feel like I not only know intimately and have used or worked with in like so many ways, but it is a plant that still yearly, every time I get to work with it, like, or when it flowers in the spring, like I get so happy to see it.
Mm.
It's like if we were to like plan a trip to Ireland or something and like pop up in the airport and see each other, like that feeling of like excitement to see like a beloved person or plant, right? Like
Mhm.
every year when violets start blooming, I feel that feeling of just like, oh, like like reconnecting with a friend and being able
Mhm.
to see it and work with it and bask in its beauty. Yeah, so yeah, I think that I like the connection that I have with it, the love that I have for it, the excitement that I feel towards it, and the relationship I've built with it are the reasons that I chose violet.
Hmm. For me, I like violet. I came to love later, but now that it's been like, honestly, now I think it's been like 10 years, but I was pretty far into my like herbal love before I like fell really in love with violet. It still has that kind of fresh newness to me, but it also has that special spring, like it's here for a little bit. And so there is that like,
Mhm.
there you are, and I get to treasure you for a bit. I was going to save this question for later, Lindsey, but since we're already kind of in this realm, as you probably know, Tori Amos has some very famous lyrics, and she says, "Kiss the violets as they're waking up." What does
Mm.
that What does that mean to you? This is
Ooh.
the Tori interpretation lyrics moment of the podcast.
I think it means live in the moment and that joy that you experience at like finding the love of the moment.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, that's what I think too. It's like kind of one of those like smell the roses moments, but it's like this incredible like ephemeral spring moment because the
Yeah.
violets are only with us. The violet flowers are only with
Mm,
us for so long.
mm. Yeah, yeah, that makes me think about the chemical constituent ionone that is found in Viola odorata.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about some of the like botany of violets, but ionone in particular is what in part gives violet flowers that are aromatic, which Viola odorata. right? That odor tells us something, is one of the aromatic species that's found in Europe. And the ianone constituent actually is really highly sought after in like perfumery, but because it is this like fleeting experience, so ianone, the chemical, wafts up into your nostrils and it hits your olfactory glands and they actually bind to the olfaction and stop you from being able to smell the scent momentarily. So it's like this incredible experience of smelling violets, and then it disappears until the binding stops and you can smell them once again. So it's like it's very like momentary, very fleeting, very like part of the magic, right? Like if something is always great, so it's like if you live in a like place where it's like perfect weather all the time, like, you know, you can't like really appreciate it because it's always there. Well, with
Mhm.
violet, it's like here it is. Here's the magic of the smell of violets for a moment, and then we're gonna take a break and come back to it.
That is so fascinating. I did not know that at all. What I say, which I is kind of, I guess now like I'm realizing a crude take on it is I say like, perfumists like try to capture that smell but are
Hmm.
unsuccessful. But maybe that's not
Yeah.
true. Maybe they can successfully capture it, but then we're inhibited from that like smell of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where like perfumists like they like seek it out because they want to capture it, but like no matter what they did, it doesn't matter. Like the chemical itself is going to like stop it from like being present at all times.
Ah, it's so fascinating. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of lessons in that. Like you shared one of just, like perfect weather and being able to appreciate something over time. But yeah, there's a lot of like, yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons in that. A lot of
Yeah.
lessons with Violet.
Just like a Tori Amos lyric, you can
Interpret it in many different
and
ways. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Let's keep going with this one Tori. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We will move on from the Tori Amos segment. Where else should we dive in, Lindsay, with violets?
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about like violets as a genre. So Violaceae is the family. They get their very own family. They're obviously that special. And then Viola is the genus. And there's many species in the violet genus. So of the like 600 or so species, you would think that like when you see a violet, you know it, right? Like it's like, oh, heart-shaped leaves and it has the five petals, five flower petals, which we can look at shortly. But I think it's really fascinating because violets are actually like highly variable in their presentation. So we have Viola sororia, which is common blue violet, which is what I have here. And it's very similar. Like, I don't think I could tell them apart if I sat next to a Viola sororia or a Viola odorata, right? They have purple flowers. They both have the cordate shaped, heart shaped leaves by look, but you could obviously smell
Yeah.
Viola odorata and know that it is sweet violet. Yeah, so that's like the common presentation. Like that's what we think about when we think about violet. At least that's what I think about, right? So, yeah, again, like we have their heart-shaped leaves, right? And
Oh,
they're super beautiful. And then we do violet flowers. So I'm going to try to, for folks out there, try to show, let me see if I can get one that is actually showing all of the parts. But so violet flowers have um, five petals, and there are two upper petals, two lateral petals, and then one lower petal that has what is called a nectar runway in it. So this is those stripes and that like change in color variation. So with the purple ones, there's like what I'm seeing is like a white into a yellow with like lines that are actually to guide insects into them, right? To help them pollinate. So we have these beautiful showy flowers. All viola species have the five petals. They come in various colors though. So the purple violets are the ones that I work with the most. But there are multicolored violets, right? So we have Viola tricolor, which has, you guessed it, 3 colors. And so it's pretty common for the violets that are multicolored to be referred to as pansies, right? So the cultivated violets that have multicolored are referred to as pansies, or like heartsease is a specific type. But there's wild violets that are yellow. There's wild violets that are white. These are not uncommon colors for the violets to be. So we have variability in the color of the flowers, but then we have wild variability in the leaves. So, again, heart-shaped cordata, but then we have leaf shapes like Viola pedata, which is bird's foot violet. Okay, so this is a lobed violet that is like highly divided lobes that looks like a bird's foot. We have Viola hastata, which hastate is a type of leaf shape, and it's like a spear shape. So it's like a pointy end with like 2 lobes at the other end. And so like Verbena hastata, right? Blue romaine is a similar leaf shape. So we have Viola sempervirens, which is a leathery leaf shape with evergreen leaves, which is wild, right? Then we have violas that are palmate, so Viola palma. We have violets that are palmate. Let me think. There was one other one that I was trying to share. I think what I'll say is that oh, I know what it was. So some of the leaves are pubescent. So some of the leaves are hairy. So you have like hairy violet, right? So yeah, they're wildly diverse. And I think that that is super cool because it's engaging and interesting, right? It's like, oh, you're not just one type. Like you can present in so many different ways. And so all viola species are going to have like edible flowers and leaves. But that's not like non-viola species, right? So African violets is one where it's like, oh, this is a violet. It's not a violet. It's at least not a viola. But the root and the seeds of all viola species have saponins, which cause them to have a level of toxicity. They also have a bitter alkaloid called violin, which is what gives it part of the like emetic qualities of violet root and seeds. So you definitely wouldn't want to or it's with those plant parts comes emesis. So definitely not something that I am working with. Yeah, but and then I will mention one final botanical characteristic that I find very interesting, Rosalee, if you'd like to hear about it. It
I'm
is the
guessing I know what
second
it is.
flower. Yeah,
Yes.
the second flower, right?
Yeah.
So the showy flowers, like the purple violet flowers that like we know and love and see, like I remember the first time I ever like lived in a place where violets were covering the yard, and like, oh, the joy of lying down and like a lawn of violets, just one of the most joyful things. So those are the showy flowers, right? So they are pollinated by insects. They are reproductive. So some people say that they're not, but they are actually reproductive. They produce seeds. But they're the chasmagmus flowers. So chasmagmus flowers are reproductive. They are showy. They are cross-pollinated by insects. And then we have the other flowers, which are the cleistogamous. Okay, so these cleistogamous flowers are like the Virgin Mary of flowers. They never open. They are self-pollinating, and they just come later in the season. They're closer to the ground. Sometimes they're even underground. And they also produce seeds. And both flowers on the viola species produce seeds that are, once the seed pod dries, become like projectile. So the seed pods will dry and then they'll like pop and shoot their seeds like a few feet away. So highly reproductive, these plants. And that's why you can, plant a few in your yard, and next thing you know, like a few seasons later, you have an entire lawn, which I love. We recently put in we did some work in our backyard to where we like scraped up the grass, and the violets are like the only things growing in those areas right now. And I'm
Whoa.
just like, thank you. Yes, please. More violets.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard so many stories of people just moving in like a little violet plant and then phew, which
Yep.
I'm so happy about. I moved I created a little micro climate in my garden and moved in Viola odorata and I have quite the scene there now, so I'm very happy about that.
How
I live
does
in a
it
very like
smell?
high desert dry place, so like they don't necessarily like love it here and that, but I did create the microclimate for them. So they're
Mm,
happier. Yeah, and the smell is just so lovely. Yeah.
mm, I love that.
Hey, it's Rosalee. Creating this podcast has been one of the most rewarding parts of my herbal work. And if you've found something meaningful here, whether it's a new perspective, a favorite recipe, or just a sense of calm, I want to let you know there's a good way to go even deeper. It's called the Podcast Circle. Inside, you'll get access to live classes taught by some of my favorite herbal teachers, behind the scenes updates, and a beautiful library of herbal resources that we've gathered over the years. But more than that, it's a space to connect with fellow plant lovers who care about the same things you do. And truly, your membership helps make this podcast possible. It's how we keep the episodes coming and the herbal goodness flowing. So if you're ready to be part of something more, something rooted in connection, head over to herbalpodcastcircle.com. I'd love to see you there. Well, thank you for all of that, Botany. I think there's an obvious question coming out of that, which is how many of those species do you work with in a similar way? Like with the common violet, are you working with that in the same way you are with the Viola odorata, for
Yeah,
example?
so that's a great question. Because where I live, Viola sororia is like prolific. I'm
Mm.
typically working with Viola sororia. If I had the chance, I would love to spend more time with Viola odorata. And in the past, like I have worked with it, and you get the benefits of aromatics, right? So anytime, I think that Viola sororia, even though it doesn't have the aromatics, like anytime we get aromatics, like we know that they're going to have like bonus nervous system impacts, right? And an enfleurage with Viola odorata is like the best thing ever. If you have a patch and like you, Rosalee, you can work with those flowers to attempt to capture their smell by like having a solid vat on a tray and then putting the flowers in and then replacing them as often as you can to like attempt to capture. Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, I work with Viola sororia for the most part. And yeah, I love it. I work with both the leaf and the flower. I work with them together and I do work with them separately.
Let's hear more about that and in what ways do you like to work with it?
Yeah, yeah. So I will say that the first time I worked with the violets was actually from a salve that somebody made for me. So this was back in a time before I had violets in my yard. So I was not actually lucky enough at that time to have access to violets, but I was living in northern Michigan and there was this incredible woman. She was an elder, Carol Laughing Waters, and she would make a violet breast salve for. I think she put amethyst. She like infused it with amethyst too, which I don't really work with crystals, but I just feel like it was like very magical of her. And yeah, so it was a violet salve, and it was when my son was born, and I had just started. It was a gift, and I had just started. The journey of being a mom and nursing. And for those of you out there who have been through this journey, like the first couple of weeks of nursing can be really painful. And so you have like cracked, dry tissues. And it's a really like sensitive time too, right? So to be attempting to like feed your child and like having the pain that goes along with this tissue issue is really challenging. And so I got this salve and used the violet leaf salve on my cracked, dried tissues, and it was miraculous. I mean,
Mm.
not only did it like did it support the regeneration of the tissues and increase the moisture, like the ability, like the tissues went from like so dried to moistened. And it was, a combination of the violet leaf and those lipids. It was safe, right? It was gentle for both like me in that nursing state, but also for the baby. So like feeling like, Violet at that time is such an ally, and it is so gentle yet so effective. So violet leaf is highly mucilaginous. And using it topically in a salve was like the best thing for this like cracked, dried tissues, and it just made such a difference in my life. And so ever since then, that is one way that I continue to use violet is through making a violet leaf salve and for new moms and any cracked dried tissue. So that is specific to nursing. But like obviously that is applicable to any cracked dried tissues, right? If you have like dry hands in the winter, violet salve is great for that. I have actually done foot soaks with violet, so
Hmm.
making like an infusion of violet leaf and then doing foot soaks for any like dried hard cracked tissue on the feet.
Wow.
It can be really effective for that because when I think about violet, and this is not unique to me, it is a word that we many of us use to discuss violet's uses, and that is softening. Like
Mm.
violet is one of the most softening plants that we have. And I think it's like the beauty of what violet has to offer. And
Mm.
so it softens the skin in this way. And so that's like external use, emollient, we could say. Um, but I think that violet also softens the mind. So
Mm.
we'll talk more about the tissues, but it's nervous system actions for me. So I do make a leaf and flower tincture, and I've made only flower tincture as well. But I do think that they're great together, like the pairing of the two. So, the leaves, as I've mentioned, are edible and they're mucilaginous, and the flowers are with their beautiful colors going to be like highly rich in polyphenols. So they bring, both bring nutrients to the table. But as far as the nervous system, staying on track here, Rosalee, as far as the nervous system goes, I feel like violet is able to take you from like a hardened state, right? So like we're not just having we can like it's not just tissues that can be dry or hardened, right? It can be our minds and our emotions. And so I feel like violet is like one of the most softening on our mind and on our spirit. I think that the way that violet in the respiratory system can clear stuck congestion, I think violet can clear stuck emotions, especially anger. So things
Mm.
that are like really stuck. Um, in our minds and in our hearts, I feel like violet's part of the work that it does in softening us is moving those along. And so I think, like those lymphatic actions are really actually can be spoken towards, and it's like its impact as a nerve vein as well.
Mm. So much goodness there, Lindsay. I want to circle back a bit because I'm just curious when you make your oil infusion to make either oil infusion or salve, are you using fresh, wilted, absolutely dry? What's your
Yeah,
preference
so
on that?
yeah, I personally prefer to just do really freshly dried. Um, the water contamination component, like microbes like water, and they need them to grow. So for me, I've actually even like freshly dried infusions of violet leaf are one of the most incredible colors and flavors that I have in a tea. And so yeah, the freshly dried in a salve, you're going to maintain the majority, if properly dried, you're going to maintain the majority of the beneficial components, and you're going to take that water component out. If I were to want to do a fresh, I would definitely wilt and then apply heat with an open lid to attempt to get the water out. But yeah.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for that. Just
Hmm.
thinking all those leaves I have. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think but freshly dried, there's something to freshly dried violet that like it's one of the plants that I'm just like the concentrated nature of like but still, because I think that there's still freshness to it, right? You're just
Mhm.
removing that water component. So I
Right.
think it's just like it's very potent when it's freshly dried. It does,
Lovely.
yeah, it does like most plants, like over, a year, I would say it's like you've lost a lot of the goodness. So maybe like using within a year or two if you do dry it, but the freshly dried is best.
Yeah. Yeah, and something about that, it is hard to find it in commerce. So harvesting your own and keeping track of the freshness of it and everything is really the way to go with violet. It's a plant that people have to fall in love with in person, I think, and
Yeah.
develop that relationship with.
And I will say it's one of the plants that's easiest to harvest, right? Like because it's so prolific in nature, I can sit in one spot in my backyard and pick like a whole bowl of flowers.
Yeah.
So Rosalie, I want to talk a little bit more about the constituent bits. So the leaf, as I mentioned, is really mucilaginous. It's highly nutritious as well. It has a lot of great mineral content, nutrient content within it. So you can eat violet leaves, right? There's actually on the Herbal Academy blog one day I like ran through and I was like, oh, I was looking for something and I saw that there was a violet soup recipe, which I have not made, but I thought that was fascinating. But like
Ooh.
I have this memory of Odin when Odin is my son. He's 13 now, but when he was little, actually went camping with our mutual dear friend Mill Casting for her birthday, and it was we had brought a hammock and we put it up, and Odin was swinging between two trees, and I just remember him like every upswing he would like grab a handful of violet leaves, and he could just do this like they were so prolific. He could just like spread his fingers out, scoop up, and then like throw a handful of violet leaves in his
I love
hand,
it.
swing back, do it again. And like this image of Odin like just consuming violet flowers or violet leaves is like such a beautiful mom experience for me.
Aw.
Yeah, so the violet leaves are great. Like eat them, make salads with them, like cook with them, stir fry, whatever. Do whatever you want. Just walk out into your backyard and eat them. They're mucilaginous. They're going to be super great for your tissues, and we can talk about the digestive system actions. But and yeah, the flowers I mentioned have the um polyphenols, right? With those colors, we have anthocyanins. So, Rosalie, have you ever played with violet flower as a litmus test, as a pH indicator?
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, so violet flowers, I think most of us know, right, what violet flowers do when you add an acid to them, right? Because we've seen like violet syrups and violet jelly. So actually, Rosalie, I have some stuff here. So
Oh, you
this
came
is
prepared.
I came prepared. So everyone who's not listening or who's only listening on audio, I have some violet flower tea that when they were prolific, I froze. Okay. So it's
Wow,
this
look at you.
really beautiful purple color. Okay. So if you take this violet flower infusion, and we don't need any ratios here, you just throw a bunch of violets in the cup, cover it with water, get the most color you can, get as many polyphenols, anthocyanins as you can with this like beautiful blue purple color. And then if you add an acid like this lime juice I have here, it is going to turn more magenta. So let's see if we can get a little bit more actually, because that did not do as much as it could. So I'm just grabbing the bottle
Oh,
now, going straight for it, okay?
I did see it change more to, ooh,
Yeah,
there we go.
there we go.
Oh,
Okay, so that is like the magenta color. And what that indicates to us is that the substance that was added to the violet flower infusion was acidic. Now, have you ever seen it with a base though? So most people don't add baking soda to their violet jellies or their violet um, syrups, okay? But let's see if this is enough. It might not be. But if you do, it turns this incredible green color.
like
So it's
emerald
like
green.
emerald green, okay? So I'm going to see if I can get it. Over here, it looks like a deep teal right now, but I'm just going to
It's my favorite color. So, ooh, yeah.
look at this. So it's still pretty purple blue, but it's, oh my God, Rosalie, it's like this incredible teal color.
That's my color right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
It is like that eyeliner. Okay, so baking soda is a base, right? It is something that, so when you add a base to the violet flower, it is going to turn a green color. And in this case, we got a nice teal. So that tells us that the substance that was added is a basic. So yeah, the litmus test is, it's a pH indicator, and violet, along with any other purple flower. So like butterfly pea flower is also commonly used in this way. And it's super fun to experience that. And I think that it's a really great way to teach children too, right? About like the pH. So let's put these
Plus, it's
next
a
to each
very
other.
fun show and tell here.
Yes. So those are the two different colors side by side.
Lovely. Thank you, Lindsey.
Yeah.
Well, you had mentioned briefly about the lymphatic nature of violets, and I didn't want to let that get passed up. If you have anything else to dive into on that.
Yeah. Yeah, so violet is a lymphatic, right? So I actually think it's an alternative. So it works on our waste delivery and nutrient delivery system. So it helps to remove waste products, and it helps to deliver nutrition. So lymphatic alternatives work on the lymphatic system to do just that. And so violet is absolutely like a moistening, cooling remedy. So anytime that there's heat or dryness in the system, violet is incredible for that. And as a lymphatic, that softening nature is actually really good for swollen, hardened lymph nodes. Obviously, if you have like an issue with a lymph node that is problematic, you're going to want to see a medical professional. But if you're like, oh, you got a cold and like your lymph nodes are swollen and hardened, and you know that it's like from that, and you want to work on applying an herb to support the congestion in those lymph nodes, violet's perfect for that. So yeah, I think it's also like good for supporting lymphatics throughout the body, and bringing the nutrition, removing the waste products, but that supports the kidneys in a big way. So you'll often see like violet spoken towards as like a kidney herb, and that is the reason. Yeah, so when we need water, when we need moisture, lymphatics like violet are a great answer. And in those cases, you're going to want to tend towards, like, instead of a tincture, a water extraction, right? So doing like an infusion of violet leaves for the lymphatic nature is going to not only get the dryness, or not only get the herb in, but it's going to get the water content in as well. So I love violet leaf for that. And, the mucilaginous nature of the herb is going to support moistening as well. And so in our digestive systems, if you have dryness or any heat in your digestive system, similar to the way we would use plantain, violet can absolutely be used in that way. And I think, violet is a really wonderful, like, gentle aperient. So it's going to help to like move stool if you have like mild constipation. For those reasons, it's coating, soothing, moistening those tissues, and supporting the movement of your bowels in that way. Yeah, I just remembered I wanted to share another story about its topical use. So because of this like cooling, moistening, demulcent nature of violet, it's really great for like bites and stings, like mosquito bites and insect stings. And when I was teaching at the eclectic school, we had a patch of nettle, and I, like, in the first few weeks, would do a plant walk with the students to take them around and like show them what was growing in the area. And I would always make them practice urtification. And for those of you who don't know, urtification is where you sting yourself with nettle, and it's a really great, right? It's a counter irritant. It's going to draw blood to an area, similarly to the alternative nature, like that counter irritant can bring the blood to help draw nutrients to the area and to remove waste products. And so I would have my students sting themselves with nettle. And then, for folks who had experienced it before, it wasn't like that big of a deal. But for people who hadn't, it's like, oh, that's like actually quite painful, right? The trichomes and nettle have histamine, they have formic acid, they totally sting. It's a painful experience, one that I have grown to love. But if you sting yourself with nettle, you can actually use violet leaf and the spit poultice. So you take a leaf, you chew it up, and you apply it to the sting, and it like immediately takes it away. So it was like kind of this magical introduction to like, oh, well, have you ever stung yourself with nettle? You haven't? Okay, well, ow, that hurts, right? Grab a violet leaf, chew it up, stick it on, and poof, gone.
I can see class with you is quite fun. A little bit of sting, a little bit of relief. It's funny that you mentioned nettle because when you said violet soup, I immediately was thinking like, oh, I'm going to add violet leaves to my nettle soup. I think that'll be really lovely. And then I'm going to put
like that.
violet flowers on top of it, and it's going to be great.
Do send pics.
Always. And I just had another question to call back to. Do you work with Viola tricolor, the like pansies? Do you work with them in a similar way? I hear some people do and some people don't, so it's always something I'm curious about.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that, folks do, but like for me, I really only see pansies at like the gardening center. So, no, I'm not working them with the way that I am with my like prolific patches of Viola sororia, but I do think that they're pretty interchangeable. For the most part, I mean, I know way more about the Viola species that I work with and like the chemical constituents, but I do know there's some really great research coming out about all like the content of cyclotides in many, if not all, Viola species. And so cyclotides are cyclical peptides. They're amino acids that are really heat stable. They're like molecules that are very stable. They can pass through, they can survive heat, and they can survive the digestive system to enter into our bodies in a way that is like very surprising to the researchers, right? It's like, oh, wow, these are like super stable molecules. And the research that's coming out, there's no clinical trials in humans yet, but there's some really great research coming out in animal models that shows that these cyclotides are like a molecular hole punch for it's cytotoxic. They are cytotoxic to cancer cells. So they're like hole punches to cancer cells where they're able to punch a hole into these cells, enter, and then induce apoptosis. So like the anti-cancer nature of the cytotoxic nature of Viola is being researched for this specific compound. And cyclotides are also known to be immunomodulating. So Viola species have like one of the highest concentrations of this compound found in nature. And so I say that to go back to like the Viola tricolor, like they're going to have the cyclotides and they're going to be beneficial. They're also going to have the polyphenols, right? They're going to have the mucilage. So I do think that they're beneficial still. But one more thing about the cyclotides with the immunomodulating nature, they're shown to work on the T cells. In autoimmune cases, we have like this T cell activity that's like overactive, right? So the part of our immune systems that's like been tagged as like it's been tasked with the like task to attack the cells that are deemed foreign in the body, right? Even though in this can start from molecular mimicry. So what that means is we have, to put it very, very succinctly, we have increased gut permeability. We have proteins that are not supposed to be entering into our systems, enter into our bloodstream. And then through the process of molecular mimicry, we have these, let me actually step back. So we have those compounds entering into our system like proteins that should not be there. Once they enter in the bloodstream, the immune system tags them as foreign, causing them to be antigens, right? Antibodies, the B cells and the T cells create a memory of these cells. But the problem is that some of those proteins look like various parts of our body. So say in Hashimoto's thyroiditis, we have the thyroid being attacked because the immune system has been sensitized to a molecule that mimics the thyroid. And so then our body is attacking them. The T cells play a big role in this inflammatory autoimmune process, and cyclotides are shown to be immunomodulating and able to like pull back those molecules from their like overzealous activity.
That was such a great description of all of that. Like it was like very very descriptive, but like, very gettable. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. So, violet's one of those plants, like, to quote our dear friend and teacher Jim McDonald, like gentle does not mean weak, right? Like it is one of those plants that's unassuming, but it's also like highly active and like really effective at so many things, and it's taken, I think, for granted.
Yeah, I knew like going into this, I knew I love violets, and I was like, hands down, I'm going to be more in love with violets after I hear Lindsey talk about them. And it's true. I can't wait to dive out into my violet patch after this.
Oh, Rosalee, the coolest thing is too that they're like also fun, right? It's like
Yeah.
there's so many fun things you can do with this. I mean, like, look at this color. Look
Yeah.
at that. That's
Well,
like the
speaking of
most
fun,
beautiful.
let's talk about your recipe, because
Yes,
your
let's do it.
recipe is so beautiful, so much fun. I love your potions so much. So
Thank
yes, you have
you.
a violet elixir for us. Please
Yes.
dive into that.
Okay, so I have a plant product company called Plant Matters, and my goal in creating plant products is always to like connect people with the magic of plants and like the various ways that we can. And that can just be through like food that tastes good, like my seasoning salts or oxymelts and vinegar infusions. And I do make some other products too, but like a lot of times what I'm wanting to do is like get something that makes people excited. And so one of the things that one of my favorite products that I make that people are just so enamored with is my violet elixir. And so this is an elixir. It could be called a cordial. Really just depends on, your preference. I typically just like feel out which or what the herb wants to be called. Like, are you an elixir or are you a cordial? But so my violet elixir starts by stepping out into my yard and harvesting as many violet flowers as I possibly can, and I putting them into a bowl, and then I make an infusion, just like what we've been working with here. So the violet flower infusion is the base of my elixir, and it turns the blue purple of the violet infusion. And now this is actually interesting, Rosalee, because you can tell if your water is basic based on the color that the infusion turns. But yeah, so you're gonna want to strain out the flowers and then add the infusion back to the pan. And I work with this recipe in parts. So I'm going to do equal parts violet infusion. So I measure it before I put it back in the pan to sugar. And this makes a syrup, right? So you could stop there. You could just stop there and you have your violet syrup. And that is also beautiful and can be a really great addition to beverages on its own or just taken straight as a lovely potion. But I take it a few steps further, Rosalee. So I melt the sugar into the violet infusion, and then I add so I do 2 parts violet flower infusion and 2 parts sugar, so that's again equal parts, and then I add a half a part of lemon juice, and that gets this like floral but like lemony flavor, floral sweet and lemony flavor to go with it. And it's definitely a little like this color, a little more pink typically. And then to preserve it, I add alcohol. And so I typically do half a part of vodka, but again, you could choose not to add that and make it a non-alcohol. You would just want to keep it in the fridge and store it there for preservation. But the violet elixir with the alcohol can make a really tasty um, beverage. I will typically add it to like a sparkling water. So making like a cocktail out of it. And yeah, I will serve it over ice. You can garnish it with violet blossoms. You're going to want to store it in the fridge and use it within a few months, preferably, but mine usually don't last that long.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, this is absolutely lovely on so many different levels. And thank you for that. Thanks for sharing it in parts too, because it just gives so much more flexibility there. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so just
So
for an
the
example, like you could choose a part as a cup. So you could have like 2 cups violet infusion, 2 cups sugar, and then a half part would be half cup. So half cup vodka, half cup lemon juice, for example, right? I did that right.
You did that perfectly,
Great.
Rosalie. Yeah.
Math on the go.
I I love working in parts for me because I my batches can like wildly vary in size,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if I were to give you a recipe and be like, oh, you have to make, this size of a violet infusion. So it's like, oh, half a cup of violets with a cup of water for your infusion. Like that is limiting you to that space, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, here's parts, and actually maybe I should talk about the violet infusion part. Like you can do as many violets or as you want. Like what I'm going for is the most concentrated color possible and like the most violets possible. So like, but it takes a long time to harvest the violet flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't ever, in this case, I am very like mathematical and like my clinical formulation side. Like when I'm making tinctures, totally measuring, have ratios for everything. But things like this, like part of, it's part of the fun is being like a little creative. And yeah, so as far as like violet flowers to water goes, like the more the better. But yeah,
Sweet.
and then yeah, the parts allow you to like vary your batches. So it's like, oh, you could do a cup as one part, or you could do a quart as one part, and then that's what I do sometimes when I'm making batches for which I typically do every spring, where I'm making batches for my product company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love. I buy things from you by the pound or the bottle, so highly recommend. Um,
Thank you, Rosalie.
Speaking about your projects you're doing, things you're up to, what do you got going on right now?
Yeah, so as you know, we've talked a little bit about. I have been spending a lot of time working on a tick-borne diseases course for the Herbal Academy. So this course has been like I've been lead developer for the course, and I have written numerous lessons found within. And this entire course is focused in on the diseases that are transmitted by ticks. And while I would love to say that like this is a fun thing, it's ticks are not like an exciting fun thing, but it is such a serious part of like the world that we live in today, because ticks are highly prolific. Their populations are booming based on the habitat fragmentation that is occurring. We have like widely cultivated edge habitats where ticks thrive. So, think about it this way. You build a neighborhood and you leave some woods in a strip behind it, and then you build another neighborhood behind that, and there's all these strips created. Instead of one large forest, we now have very like varying fragmentations that occur, and again we increase the edge habitats where ticks thrive. And we also have a very booming white-tailed deer population. And so, interestingly, the small rodents like the white-footed mouse are the more of the vectors for the diseases versus the white-tailed deer, which like actually Borrelia, which is the species of bacteria that transmits, or the genus of bacteria that transmits many tick-borne illnesses, but that including Lyme, that like Borrelia is not harbored by deer. They are just a really great meal for these ticks, and the meals are
So they help
necessary for
them to
ticks to
thrive.
populate. They help them to
Yeah.
thrive. And so, tick-borne illnesses are in my region, so in the East Coast, like I live in Southwest Virginia, are just so prolific. And so at the Herbal Academy, basically, like my goal this whole time is to create a compendium of information on the diseases themselves, on ticks, on tick prevention, on the diseases themselves, and how we can, alongside appropriate medical interventions, use herbs to support the body in these cases. So Yeah, it's incredibly comprehensive. I mean, I wrote 40 pages on the tick-borne bacterial infections alone. I have also written a lesson on alpha-gal, tick-borne allergies. So alpha-gal is a tick-borne allergy that is transmitted through the saliva of the ticks that contain the alpha-galactose carbohydrate molecule that actually it's not an infection. So most of the time when we think about ticks, we think about pathogenic infections, so bacteria, viruses, parasites, which is all covered in the course. But yeah, this alpha-gal is actually an allergy. So your immune system becomes sensitized to this alpha-gal molecule, and alpha-gal in our foods and in our like environment and our products that we use, like household products and beauty products, is found in mammalian products. So think like mammalian meats, like beef and pork and venison, and also gelatin and bone broths, any byproducts of a mammal. So dairy is also out, but also there is red seaweeds that contain alpha-gal. So carrageenan is another
Didn't know that.
another source of alpha-gal. So anyways, alpha-gal is really prolific where I live, and it is one of those diseases that is like not very well known. So having this like incredible resource that has been cultivated to teach people about this like newly discovered, the history of it is fascinating. I won't get into it today, but like truly the history of alpha-gal is and it's like discovery is so fascinating. And so yeah, we cover and people get diagnosed with this allergy and they have no clue, like no clue what to do. And so yeah, I think this course is going to be really supportive for folks that experience tick-borne diseases or are like fearful of experiencing tick-borne diseases living in endemic areas. And yeah, so that's where I've been, Rosalee. It's
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you've been sending me like little highlights and interesting facts and stuff via voice notes about this. And I remember just sending you one, just be like, what kind of self-care are you doing, Lindsey? So that you can like get like a palate cleanse of this. So it's such important work. It's going to be so valuable for people. Like you said, it's just really important. And yeah, so glad you're doing it. You know, when I first heard alpha gal, I thought it was a joke. Like I honestly did. Like I was just like, what? Nah. But obviously
right.
it's not a joke at all.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was like just like some conspiracy theorist, you know, like that. Like I just did not believe it. It sounded, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so important to get this out there, and yeah, so grateful for all the work that you've just been pouring into it. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Rosalee. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not out yet, right? Because there's going to be folks who are like, where do I find this? So it's not quite out.
Um, by the time this
By the time
podcast
it will be.
launches, it
Yeah.
it will be out. So
Okay,
yeah,
good.
we can definitely link that if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have one last question for you before we go.
Okay.
Well, I also, before we go too, you can find Lindsey and her amazing potions at plantmatters.org. Plantmatters.org. We will also link to that
Thank
as
you.
well. You can hang out with us in Michigan this year at the Great Lakes Herb Fair and
Please do.
taste her potions in person. I know I will be. I'm going to show up at her booth and be like, oh, what's this one? I don't know if I've tasted it or not, even though I might
Hmm.
have 5 times, but
Hmm.
I love the tastings. All right. Before you go, Lindsey, I've got one last question for you, and that is, what do you think herbs are especially good at teaching us right now?
I love this question, Rosalie. I think that herbs are really good at teaching us that their actions have impact, and so do ours.
Hmm.
And I feel like those actions of herbs are oftentimes supportive to us, and we can choose as humans on this planet to be supportive to ourselves and to others and to the plants that give us so much, including our medicine, but also our food and our shelter and our clothing and, really the oxygen we breathe and life on this planet.
Mm, that's beautiful. I love that, especially in regards to Violet, when we think about all the way Violet supports us, the softening of the
Yeah.
nervous system, the immunomodulating qualities, the lymphatic qualities, the polyphenols,
Yeah.
the topical applications. Yeah, just so many gifts in that one plant. And
Yes.
that's a beautiful sentiment, Lindsey. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalee. This has been wonderful. I'm so excited I finally got to come onto your podcast.
Me too. Me too. It's been absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. You can download your illustrated recipe card from today's episode. Just head to herbswithrosaleepodcast.com or check out the show notes for the link. And if you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you as part of this herbal community so I can deliver even more herbal goodies your way. This podcast is made possible in part by our awesome students. This week's student spotlight is on Laura Gallup in Arizona. Laura is currently enrolled in the Herbal Energetics course, where she brings a joyful sense of curiosity and adventure to her learning. With years of experience using herbs, she's now exploring a more holistic approach, learning how to approach the body as a whole. Along the way, she's been crafting her own bitters, experimenting with tea blends, and diving into hands-on experiences with herbs like artichoke leaf and linden. Her reflections are thoughtful, detailed, and full of discovery, showing how much can unfold when we stay open, curious, and willing to try something new. To honor her contributions, Mountain Rose Herbs is sending Laura a $50 gift certificate to stock up on their incredible selection of organically and sustainably sourced herbal supplies. Thank you so much to Mountain Rose Herbs for supporting our amazing students. Okay, you've made it to the end of the show, which means you get a gold star and this herbal tidbit. We spent a lot of time talking about what violet does for us, but I want to leave you with a reminder of what violet does for the rest of the living world too. So violets are the exclusive larval host plant for fritillary butterflies in North America. So every single fritillary butterfly you've ever seen began its life on a violet leaf. No violets, no fritillaries. It's that simple. But I find this beautifully astonishing. It's a plant that's so easy to overlook, so often pulled from lawns as a weed, but it's actually holding up an entire branch of the butterfly world. This connection means a lot to me personally. I have a tattoo of violets and a fritillary butterfly on my leg, because to me that's part of what makes herbalism so deeply fascinating. It's not just about what plants do for our bodies, it's about falling in love with the full complexity of their lives, who they feed, who depends on them, and what whole worlds they're quietly sustaining. So next time you see violets spreading across your yard, I hope you're able to spend some time with them, from enjoying their sweet scents to relishing the slow pace of getting down on the earth with them, to marveling how they are nursery for butterflies. As always, thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next episode.